Hey all, it's Pluto and welcome back to my channel. That makes me giggle every time. But hey all, welcome back to my channel. It's so good to see you here. How are you doing today? Today I have a fun video that I have whipped up in like the last couple of hours. I had the idea while I was at work this morning and I was like, dang, this is the video I need to release tomorrow because I'm really excited about it. And it's perfectly in time for like college and college things going on. So this is going to be my tips and tricks for college. And it's not exactly like the things I think that you should do in college, but it's like my tips and tricks to get through it as a mentally unwell human. I am a college dropout after all. Oh yeah, I did make it through 2 years, which is really awesome. But these are my tips and tricks for a mentally unwell human to make it through college, because I think that these tricks are more geared towards people who don't thrive in academic settings anymore, or not gifted kids, are not super great at school, maybe struggle with their mental health, are going through a lot of life changes and don't handle it as well as their peers seem to be. And I had a lot of people around me who seemed to thrive under the school setting, and I used to thrive, and that really made me really anxious, and that really hurt when I tried to do college. But I had a lot of supportive friends and they are doing so good. They're actually in their senior year this year, which is so exciting for them, and I am so excited to go to their graduation. But without further ado, these are my tips for college from a mentally unwell human. Number one, I'm going to start off with roommates aren't bad. This is one that's not really mentally unwell, but roommates really aren't bad. LOL is what I wrote on this list. I don't know why I wrote LOL, but roommates are not bad. I had a really great roommate my freshman year, and we still talk to this day. She supports my YouTube. She supports like so many things that I do, and she's just the sweetest human. She's actually headed into pre-veterinary. She's been applying for vet colleges and researching them at least since freshman sophomore year of college, so like when we were roommates, which is crazy to me. But that's initially what I wanted to do. Was I wanted to be a vet when I was younger, and like growing up as a teenager too. So it was really exciting to get paired with somebody who had a similar lifestyle to me growing up, similar dreams and goals, and somebody who was following through with it, because I was just so intrigued by their science stuff. I did not like it all the time. One morning we watched a lecture on the TV on like a Saturday morning. I can't remember what it was. I have a funny video about it, but we had a lot of fun. But roommates are not bad.
Hey all, so if you ever wondered like how crappy my computer camera was, it's this, and this is what I look like when I edit. So anyway, I realized that I sounded really insensitive during that piece of like the whole thing, and I wanted to acknowledge there are such things as bad roommates. You can have a terrible roommate. You might have an absolutely horrendous roommate actually, but I got really lucky with the roommate I got. But I think the biggest thing with having a roommate or having people near you is learning how to coexist. And if you can't coexist with your roommate, or like if you can't go out with your roommate and do things with them, finding somebody in proximity. So two of my best friends either lived catty corner or right across from me, like in college, and I think that proximity was the biggest thing in our friendship. It was being near each other. We're still connected after like me moving and everything, but it's really important to have that proximity if you can't have that proximity with the roommate. Anyway, back to the video.
But she became an RA, and I ended up actually going for a single room my second year of college, and I'm really happy that I did, because I went through a lot my second year of college mentally and just emotionally, and I just did not have the capacity to meet another person and try to room with them. It's the first time I'd ever had a room to myself, which is really cool, and I loved it. But I also had so much stuff. I probably couldn't have roomed with another person. I accumulated so much stuff. Moving on to my next point. I'm going to say join clubs and groups. Now, I know this is a basic one. I know this is something that everybody tells you, but join clubs and groups, but don't be afraid to leave them if you don't like them or if you aren't comfortable with them. That's a big thing. So we had like the social clubs on campus. We had all the music clubs. We had the, so I went to a private Christian college, which is interesting concerning how I turned out. That's besides the fact. But there were a lot of ministry groups and social groups concerning churches, and it was just a really cool dynamic to see in action. I'm not part of the dynamic, but it was a really cool dynamic to see in action. It worked really great for a lot of people. So there's a ministry team on campus that a lot of students could get involved in. There were the social clubs. I was part of a social club that really vibed. There's a lot of theater kids in that social club, and a lot of like people who were just cool individuals, so I really liked my social club. But during my second year of college, when I started to get really down, I ended up not being as involved in my social club, which honestly was helpful because they'd check in and make sure I was okay, but they also were like, hey, don't do anything you don't need to be doing right now. Like, take your time, do what you need to do. So they were very nice. But join groups and clubs, but don't be afraid to leave them if you don't like them, if they aren't vibing with you, if there's people, because that energy is just going to bring you down, and it's not going to be fun for anybody. It's not going to be fun for you. And your number one priority is taking care of yourself and your mental health. Okay? That is number one. Taking care of yourself and your mental health, and not in a cruel, like, solo way, like, I just selfish, I care about myself. No, you need to take care of yourself. Which leads me to my next point, which is to ask people to coffee. So don't be unsocial, but you don't have to be too social. Ask people to, like, go get coffee, go get tea, go on a walk that's not too class. That's another thing I recommend, is going on walks that aren't like too class, but like maybe walking around your campus. You get a different feel for the campus when you walk, when you don't have like a place to be or like area to go to. You're just like, oh, let's just wander around, let's go on walks. Walks are really comforting to me until I found my hobby, which I recommend you get a new hobby in college. Something that is something that you can turn to when you're burnt out. I personally found roller skating this summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. I have had my roller skates a little over 2 years now, which is really exciting. They are so busted up. These are my roller skates. I got them right after my freshman year of college at the end of June, beginning of July, I believe. They are I need to get a new pair. Actually, that's on my to-do list after I budget today. This is the original string on this one, but this one I've broken like 4 strings on, so do with that what you will. I learned how to roller skate on these. I've roller skated so many miles, but these were my sanity. Whenever I was sad, whenever I was just down, I would listen to a Burnt Out Gifted Kids playlist that I found on Spotify, and then I'd just roller skate. And my funny thing was, I told people, they were like, how'd you get so good at roller skating? I'm like, I roller skated whenever I was depressed. And that leads me to how good I am at roller skating now, if that tells you anything. So, but I highly recommend finding a hobby. Maybe you're picking back up an old hobby. So I was a rollerblader when I was little. I was like super fast, super speedy, and I wanted a challenge because my dad was super good at roller skating. He could like do the circles and text while he was doing it. He was so cool. My dad was really cool, actually. And I didn't think he could do that. And I was like, I want to have that secret talent to being able to roller skate. So challenge taken, and I did it. So the next point is going to be find a study place outside of your dorm. Now, I wish I would have been better at this. That's why I am suggesting it now. I was not good at finding a place to study outside of my dorm that wasn't outside in the coolish weather. So I only studied well like 2 to 3-ish months of the year because I love sitting outside in the fall, in the cold, in the wind. Not too much wind, but like the gentle, cool breezes. I hated being outside when it was hot. I hate the heat. I am not good with the heat at all. My window is closed right now and I am dying. It's fine because it's pretty cool in the house. So, but yes, find a study place outside of your dorm room, even if it's just like a safe little place you can go to read your work. You can go to sit at this specific chair in the library and you can go and read your stuff for the day, go back to your dorm room, and then work on the assignment. You need somewhere outside of your dorm room that you can study and that you can do things, because that is you're way more likely to accomplish tasks, and you're way more likely to separate your school from your living situation, because your dorm room is your living. It's really hard to balance the eating, the working, the school, the living, and moving into the dorms, especially right after high school. If this is your first chance at independence, your first time being away from your family, it's just a whole shebang. So it's really, really important that you find spaces outside of your room to do different things. But that, also the living space thing leads me into a point. Have snacks that you know you're gonna eat. So have safe foods that you know you can eat almost all the time. Now, I had a couple different safe foods. One of my safe foods, and still is ramen noodles. Because ramen noodles are super easy if you have a microwave, if you just can heat up water, if you just have like a little teapot. Ramen is a really great, easy thing. And you can, say you have some spinach that you bought on a whim, because you're like, I can eat spinach, I'm totally gonna eat it. You can throw it in your ramen if it's starting to go bad, like right before it goes bad. And it's such like an easy, like, oh, you bring home a few hard-boiled eggs from the calf, and then you just put it in your ramen. It's literally perfect. Ramen is one of my safe foods, and then chocolate bars. I used to keep chocolate bars like stashed in my freezer, which was really helpful for me because it was just really easy to eat when I was struggling. Because our cafeteria, I know a lot of college cafeterias are just poor. They are not good. They are not really easy to access all the time, especially as an anxious person, especially as somebody who does not do well in big crowds, as somebody who struggles with eating in general. It was really hard for me to go unless I had a solid routine with my friends, which is honestly, I would get out of. So I was a college athlete. I was in track and field and cross country. So I was doing something all year round. So it's cross country in the fall, moving into indoor track, and then outdoor track. So I always had my friends, and usually we'd go to dinner right after practice. If I had theater right after, I'd go grab dinner and then run, and then I'd like take my stuff with me because you need to eat. That's the reality. But if I was struggling and I didn't want to go to the caf because I was super anxious after track practice, super anxious for a theater rehearsal, I would go back to my room and I'd have ramen, which is not the best. It's not the most nutritious meal, but always be focused on what you can add to your food rather than what you can take away. So like sometimes I'd run and I'd grab like a little salad in a box, like I'd throw lettuce, spinach, and a few vegetables, and then I'd eat it next to my ramen because it was just what helped me eat. So definitely little safe foods in your room, carry them in your backpack. Gummies, I really like gummies, but the popping ones specifically. I only carried those in the colder months because in the hot, they would like melt and just get gooey, and I didn't like it. And do not always be focused on taking full showers. This is just a general wellness thing for me personally. I use this day. If you're tired, you can't do the whole hair washing, especially because I was trying to figure out if my hair was curly later on in college. It was just a whole thing. My hair was longer. It was just too much to handle. Just rinse off in the shower. Do not feel bad about just rinsing off in the shower. It is totally okay, and it's sanitary. It makes you feel, I literally rinsed off after I got off of work today just because I was like, I need a reset. And that's the only way. Stop quoting that. Stop. Anyway, that's what I liked to do, was just like go rinse off, because sometimes the thought of being in the shower for too long was overwhelming, because I was like, oh, somebody else is gonna come use the shower. I can't use the shower. People are gonna be in here. It's scary. Just rinse off. Low commitment, low level. It's totally fine. Just do it. You're safe. You're good. You're all good. Okay, another thing that I highly recommend you do is, if you're not as geared for school, if you are really having a hard time acknowledging that you're doing good, sit down and acknowledge your achievements. Acknowledge yourself for completing a paper that you put off for 2 weeks, for studying for even just an hour. That's an hour of your time that you spent studying, you spent towards furthering and bettering yourself. That's amazing, and I'm proud of you. So support yourself and encourage yourself for studying, for completing things, for reading your work. I really struggled to read some of my stuff, like read some of my psych textbooks, which were so important to, because I have an associate's in psych, and reading your psych textbooks is, and every major actually, it's so important. It's so vital to the material, because everything is just going to flow so much better, especially if you read in advance. So if you read the stuff in advance, you go through the lecture, usually it's a lecture, and then you read afterwards, you're like, wow, I understand this in a different way, but I'm glad I had that context. Reading your stuff is such an accomplishment, and it was such a hard thing for me, especially coming from trying to be a reader again. I was one of the top like readers in my schools for like the AR points, and it was just a really hard smack in the face coming off of COVID and not reading, to try to get into college and do all of this reading all of the time for so many different classes. It was just so painful, and it hurt my brain. So celebrate doing that. Celebrate accomplishing your work, because it is worth celebrating. Okay, and this is the last thing that I'm going to end on, is going to be try new things. And I know that sounds so stereotypical, but guess what I found in college? I found musical theater. I found theater in general. This guy recruited me, this junior recruited me to be in his one act. He's like, you're kind of theatrical, you're kind of dramatic, you're friends with some theater kids, I like your vibes, will you be in my one act? I was like, I'll audition. And my other friend that I had made in choir, she drugged me to the auditions, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do this. I ended up landing a part in this junior's one act, and he was really cool. He's one of the people that really got me into theater and really put stock in, like, he's like a proud dad, basically. He really put stock in my theater journey, and I really, really love him. And I actually did so I did the fall one act, and then I did the spring show, which we did Radium Girls, which was really cool. That was a really fun experience, especially coming off of being in COVID. We had to do masks, and it was just like the visors, and it was an experience, but it was a good experience. It just was an experience. And then that coming year, like going into my sophomore year, was a year I really took off in theater, because sophomore year was the musical. So this college specifically did a musical every 4 years, just because it was a smaller college, but they wanted everybody to be able to have a chance to do it. So actually this was the first musical in 5 years, so it was a really big deal because of COVID. It was something that was a really big deal to be able to do. And we did the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and I was so scared that I was not going to get a part. I procrastinated for like hours because I worked the morning it got posted. My friend was like, go look at it. I'm like, I cannot do that. Sat in my room anxious and like almost threw up for like 2 hours. And then I sat in the green room looking at the cast list across from me, like all the way across the room. And I was like, I'm not going to look at it. And I had this video of me crying because I found out I got a part. But I wouldn't have had that if I wouldn't have tried. If I wouldn't have tried theater, if these people wouldn't have invested in me. So I love them. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this beautiful thing that I think I was always meant to find. So, but the thing for that, I found theater again, and that encouraged me to pursue music again, which is why I'm on the current career path that I am, which is very exciting. I really love it. So I have a quote that I actually want to share with you before I close this. So one of the reasons that I wanted to make this video specifically for more mentally unwell people and tips that I wish I would have had, because a lot of the tips and tricks of like moving into college is like, oh, this is so simple, I love this, and then I got nervous because I felt like I couldn't live up to the expectations that these people were setting. So this is not for people who don't struggle. These are tips from someone who struggles, and this is why I do it this way. This is why I wanted to share this, because I struggled really hard. Yeah, I'm a college dropout, but these are the things that brought me joy. These are the things that helped me through this really hard period of my life, from getting diagnosed with bipolar disorder, severe PTSD, and anxiety, and trying meds, and trying a lot of different things. I was in a very bad place. I started therapy for the first time in college, and I really had a hard time opening up and embracing new relationships. And so these are these things that really helped me, and I look back on fondly from my college experience. But I have this quote from Kafka Asagiri, who wrote my favorite anime, actually. It's Bungo Stray Dogs, and it's, "This story isn't for people who are good at living." And I feel like that very much fits the vibe that I'm trying to put off with this video, and I think that it fits really well. But it's not, this isn't for people who are great at what they do. This is for people who struggle, to see that somebody else struggles but still is managing to achieve things that aren't college anymore, which is really special to me. And my final thought, be open to what will happen, and know that what is meant for you will not pass you by. What is meant to you will never pass you by. Ever. It's not gonna do that. That's not what it's meant to do. But yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy that you were here. I'm so happy that you watched this. And I'm definitely gonna do a part 2 to like my kind of college series, just because college is starting back up today. But I thought that this one was very sentimental, very meaningful to me, and so I decided to share it first, which is very exciting. Yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Definitely leave a comment below if you have been in college, if you're headed for college, if you have any worries, anything that you have questions about. I did go to college, so I do have some answers. Excuse me. So I do have some answers, which is very scary to think about sometimes. But anyways, yeah, I hope you tune back in for Musical Mondays, which I'm not sure which song I'm gonna be singing yet, but I'm between 2 options. I'm gonna flip a penny and figure it out. But yeah, tune back in for my next videos, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, this is Pluto, headed back out for orbit. Bye, guys.